In 1954, Japanese moviegoers heard this distinctive roar for the first time. Godzilla, the king of monsters, was born, forever changing the course of cinema. In Ishiro Honda's Gojira, a prehistoric creature awakens, mutated by nuclear radiation to wreak havoc on post-war Tokyo. Less than a decade after the nuclear devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and in the shadow of Castle Bravo, the largest hydrogen bomb detonation ever carried out by the US, which exposed the crew of Japan's Lucky Dragon No. 5 to lethal radiation, Gojira emerged as a haunting portrayal of the human toll of war and the moral dilemma of wielding weapons of mass destruction. Anglicised as Godzilla, the movie was re-edited for American audiences in 1956.
Astounding beyond belief, the mightiest monster of them all. See Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Godzilla has returned to screens again and again and again. Nearly 40 films in total, as well as a world of comics, TV shows, and video games, cementing itself as a pop culture icon.
Folks, we're experiencing some moderate Godzilla-related turbulence at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you to put your seatbelts back on.
To make sense of all of this, I got in touch with Norman Yiend, a professional stop-motion animator, model maker, and dedicated collector of monster toys. I knew I had the right guy when he showed me his Godzilla collection.
This is as he appeared in Destroyer Monsters. This is Megalon, this giant bug. This is Rodan, the 68 Destroyer Monsters, I think, Rodan. That's the original Rodan. King Caesar. One of my favourites is Gigan. He was great, this guy. He's awesome. But so dumb, but it's look, what the hell is that?
So Norman, when did monster movies begin? I'm guessing King Kong must have been one of the first.
Prior to that, 1925 was The Lost World, and they brought back a brontosaurus and who went rampant through the streets of London. So that's probably the first that I can think of. And then, of course, you had King Kong coming through New York. I mean, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which is a Ray Harryhausen film, came out in 1953. It actually kind of inspired Godzilla.
Without the time or budget to create a stop-motion movie like many of these earlier films, Honda and his team opted for the more practical solution of putting an actor in a suit to rampage across a set of miniatures. The resulting film caught the world's attention.
It's not just a monster movie, it's really powerful, delving in the horrors of war and the atomic age, the atomic bomb and the destruction. Godzilla was like a force of nature, and it was echoing that whole thing. They'd only just come out of the war, like not even a decade earlier. Yeah, it really struck me what a powerful, sobering message. The attention to detail with those miniatures is just phenomenal. And these miniatures were, they were massive, as you can imagine, because they've got to accommodate a guy in a costume. So the sets and everything were just huge, really.
Someone's had to build all of that with their bare hands. Someone had to carve the rubber into scales, and they had to put in like chicken wire and bamboo poles for the guy inside to get in and hold on to. And, this guy was in there sweating it out day after day and nearly passing out from how hot it was in there. It's literal blood, sweat and tears that has gone into the film.
This is Sylvie Van Wall, film writer, podcaster, and featured speaker at the upcoming Godzilla Fest in Melbourne, honouring Godzilla's 70th anniversary. So how did this commentary about Japan in the nuclear age morph into something more sort of kitsch?
Well, the first film in 1954 was quite serious and a representation of the people's response to wartime. Because it was so popular, they said, well, let's keep making these films, as you would do, let's make money. And as those films went on, particularly in that first era of Godzilla, which is called the Showa era.
Spanning from the first film until the mid-70s, the Showa era, beloved by hardcore fans, brings us Godzilla terrorizing not just humans, but King Kong in King Kong vs. Godzilla, a golden three-headed space dragon in Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, a flying smog monster in Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and a laser-firing space robot in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
They're very much B-grade popcorn flicks, and they're a lot of fun. I love them, but they're nowhere near the level of seriousness as that first film.
It's like, oh, this is so dumb, but it's just so much fun, really.
Godzilla continued his reign of terror in the 80s, the 90s, and into the 21st century. In 2023, Godzilla returned to post-war Japan and a society struggling to rebuild from the devastation of the atomic bombings and the broader toll of war. Directed by Takashi Yamazaki, Godzilla -1 was critically acclaimed and picked up an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
It's just a good movie. Even without Godzilla in it, it would be a good movie, actually. Like, it focuses on characters as well. It's got really good characters. It's a really good story, which really should, ultimately, I mean, that's what a movie should be.
Of course, Hollywood has added its own adaptations to the mix, starting with 1998's Godzilla, and most recently, Godzilla vs. Kong, the highest-grossing film in the Godzilla franchise. To many, Godzilla is the ultimate in escapist fun and popcorn entertainment. For others, it's a nostalgic rush from a simpler time. And for some, it's a reminder of humanity's very real existential threats and our uneasy relationship with the forces we strive to control. 70 years since that first earth-shaking roar, Godzilla remains the unstoppable king of monsters, and if history is any indication, he has no intention of disappearing anytime soon.